So this is a really well-known ride in Silicon Valley here. This is up in the hills in Woodside. This is Old La Honda. And if you really want to do a KOM, prove your net worth as a rider, this is the hill to do it on here. I think the record is 14 minutes. I think mine is like 29 or 30 or 31 or something, about 30 minutes. I can't imagine somebody doing 14. I think Eric Heiden, this gold medalist skater from the 80s, held the record for a long time. Now it's probably some pro cyclist who just travels around the world just killing the KOMs here. So, well, this is also a review of the Emonda. I know people had some questions about the bike's strange angle there. This is a view, of course, without the accoutrements of the pack and everything else. I want to point out a couple things that people had asked about. First of all, the seat height. You can see that even with my light here, it's still not all the way at the bottom here, and that's the stock seat post, seat mast that is. This is actually, the seat itself is a, if you can see but this is the Aeolus Elite. So this was an upgrade on the seat. That's a much better seat for me anyway. You got to feel out what works for you, but this seat I found was just a little bit thinner vertically here. The stock one was kind of bigger and thicker, so it felt like I was kind of sitting on too much of a pad here. Love the split down the middle. That's really nice. I got an 80 mil stem here with a 7 degree. This is a positive incline. Of course, you could have it go down, but I have a positive incline of 7 degrees, but that's 80. 100 was too long, and I'm 5'10", 5'11", maybe 5'10 and a half or so, depending on who measures me. Disc brakes are really incredible. These things stop going down the hills amazingly well, especially if you're coming down something like Old La Honda, and and you're just riding your brakes for a long period of time. Your forearms tend to get tired, and you're just kind of cranking on the brakes the whole time. And these things you just kind of touch a little bit lightly, and you really slow down a lot. So it makes a big difference. The other thing too is, some people had asked about tire clearance, and so these are 32s in here, and you can see there's a whole lot of clearance in here, so I can fit almost my finger in there on that side here in the top. Kind of the same, can't quite fit my finger in there, but there's a lot of clearance. Well, top doesn't matter that much anyway, but but the side has quite a bit of clearance there for a 32, so there's plenty of clearance. You could probably go greater than that. I wouldn't necessarily, just because it's not that necessary. 32s are really sweet. These are Continental. I think, no, they're not. They're Bontrager's, but they're really smooth. A little slick on wet roads, as I found, but just because I think they're kind of missing that little part up here. But these are great tires. And the brakes, really interesting. They sort of push out a little bit. I think it's probably just for the ergodynamics here, but really smooth here. So let's take a look at some of the riders here. Yeah, see, I mean, it's just that, I don't think a car has passed us in the last few minutes here. We've been taping for about 4 or 5 minutes, so it's like that all the way up. And you get to the top of that hill, and then it goes down the other side and into a town called Pescadero, fisherman, I think is what it means in Spanish, or Half Moon Bay. And so you can ride to the ocean and back the same day. It's a few hours. It's a really awesome ride. So those are some of the things that people had been asking about. I'll show you on the back here. The clearance is obviously huge. It's really strange looking and not seeing any brakes here because they're, of course, down here, but that's pretty amazing. And then what's really cool, I won't do it here, but you've got these instead of these levers that we normally had. I forget what you call them now even, but these are now in hub. You can take this out, and this is basically an Allen key here, which is pretty cool. So if you lose this thing, you can still take your wheel off, pop this off. The whole hub, not the hub, but the cylinder comes out, And so you can just just pop the wheel off, and you don't have to sit there and kind of spin one side versus the other. It's really amazing. So, so even if you lose this thing, you could still take your wheel off with an Allen key. In fact, they say just put it in your bag so it doesn't fall off here. So this is pretty amazing. This is, and then I got this I don't know who makes this here. Let's see. Maybe it's a Bond trigger, but anyway, this is a nice pump here. But these are riding tubeless here, and the tubeless is really messy, so I hope I don't get a flat. There's some videos on what happens if you get a flat with your tubeless, but in general, I don't want to find out. I'll just call my wife and have her come pick me up and see if somebody else can fix it. This is the crank here, by the way, so this is interesting. The crank on this bike is compact. As you can see, it's pretty small. So here's my, well, you can see anyway by the size of the front derailleur, it's really small. So you just kind of spin up the hills, which is really good. It's fairly light. And then the derailleur, some people had some questions about that. There's plenty of length there for to increase the size of the cassette. This is an 1134, so that's an upgrade. I don't know if it's an upgrade, but it's different than the stock because I need that for the hills here, and that makes it a lot easier to climb. And then you can see the post here is, or the stays here a little bit different here. So the top tube is, you can kind of see a little bit of a bend in it. Not quite like they used to have maybe a few years ago. Oh, there's a car. There we are. But it's got a really nice kind of dimension and look to it here. And let's see if we can set it up here to give one more sort of overview glance of it. This is what it looks like when you ride with me. There we are. All right, that is the closer detail review of the Trek Emonda SL5.